are live. We're live. Record to the cloud. Okay. Happy start of another Thursday. Okay, I see that we are live. Everyone's been tagged. Off to a good start. Guys, remember that too many emails comment from earlier? I'm lost in my tabs now. They're gonna laugh at me.
The Zoom is lost.
No, thankfully my Zoom is still live. I
I
lost my other tabs. I'm good. I'm good now. Okay, Michelle, I'm gonna go ahead and introduce you. Well, make the announcement and then I'll introduce you as people are jumping in now that they see the live. Um, Guys, we combined our normal Thursday call in the Moms on a Mission group. So if you're from there, welcome. So glad to have you. And then we combined it with our paid group. So if you're in the support group, you're in that, you know that we always do our weekly, one of our weekly co-working calls occurs during this time. And that's where you guys can ask questions, screen share, not screen share. We don't screen share. Just kidding. Ask questions, all those things. So if you had a question for that call, would you mind just messaging Megan saying, hey, I had a question. I hope to get it asked. Here's kind of what it was. And she's going to let me know that. And we're going to start a breakout room for her to answer those questions today. So just shoot her a private message, and Megan, I'll pay attention to the chat because I think I can go ahead and start it. But like I can assign manually.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you guys, I don't know if like that gives a notification or not, but okay. Okay, so just to recap, I saw a couple of other people join. If you had a question for the co-working call today, message and bug Megan, and we are going to take care of that since the announcement went out a little late. So we have a workaround for that. We just wanted to make sure you guys all had this information because I think it's so valuable going into 2024. You know, I don't do this lightly. So, okay, so you'll see a new face in the room. I'm going to spotlight Michelle Rep. Okay, I'm going to read this because she sent a really cool bio. So I'm just going to read it. But I met her a couple of weeks ago, and oh my gosh, the conversation we had over dinner, over things like that was just so much fun. And she played with my kids, all of those things. So you know that she is part of this group just through and through in personality. So she is an Edward R. Murrow and Emmy award-winning journalist. She spent nearly 2 decades in local news. She created, launched, and produced Arkansas's first lifestyle show. Guys, I can't talk today. Good Morning Arkansas in January of 2000, a show that is still running today. Michelle was a television reporter in Arkansas before moving to Virginia, where she became an evening anchor. After a rewarding career in television, Michelle left the industry, gravitating to communication and PR roles. The time soon came for her to create her own story as an entrepreneur, Memorable Results Media, and was created in March of 2021. Michelle leverages her experience and expertise in television to get publicity for her small business owners across the country. Some fun facts. Michelle has a second degree in meteorology, is a marathon runner. She placed third overall in a female in a 2009 marathon. She has run 18 marathons and an ultra marathon. When she's not running, you can find her indulging in another passion, shoe shopping. I'm surprised she didn't say earring shopping.
That too.
This girl and her earrings are like on point for sure. So I just unbiased wanted to bring her in, guys, because I know that as bookkeepers, we are introverted often. I truly am introverted, even though you guys might not think it some days because I talk a lot. But it's hard to put yourself out there. It's hard to put yourself in front of other people. But as I've tested stuff this year, getting in front of other people's audiences like has been just a gold mine, and it's such a blessing to me. But I don't know how to do what she does. And I just thought going into 2024 and hearing her thoughts on media going into 2024, that she was just kind of a gold nugget to bring in today. So I'm going to let her introduce herself and kind of what she does. And if you guys have questions as we go, put them in the chat, and I'll definitely I'll unmute you guys as needed, and we'll make this just a fun chat.
Awesome. Well, Sherry, thank you so much for welcoming me into the group. I'm excited to be able to talk to everybody today and kind of get to know some of you, and see if we can't get some positive publicity in your communities. I know initially when I mention about positive publicity, a lot of people immediately go, I don't want to be on TV. That was fine for you, but I don't want to be on TV. And it's not necessarily television. It could be as simple as getting into your local newspaper or getting onto the local radio station. But little ways to position you and your business to get positive publicity. Because here's the thing, we all want clients, we all want customers, but they aren't going to know we're here if we don't get out and promote. And I know for a lot of people, the idea is, well, I don't want to self-promote, or I could never do that. And it actually is pretty easy to do. So I know Sherry, for those who were on the call earlier, Sherry and I were kind of talking about some of the promotions that she's been doing. So it's not frightening and it's not scary. It just might be ever so slightly uncomfortable because it's something that maybe you haven't gone after before.
Absolutely. And I know when I put myself out there, like one of the benefits of, so when we were talking earlier, podcast was one of them I didn't have to appear on at all. Like I was able to sponsor it, right? Like it was just, we did go back and forth on how are we writing this? What are we talking about? All of those things. What is the podcast host going to say? And then he crafted it for his audience and his words, his tone. But I had already built the relationship because, I'd been building relationships. And I think that's really key as we're getting out there, because it's not completely putting yourself out there to a group that you haven't built a relationship. If they've been seeing you on Facebook, if they've been seeing you in different places. Tell us about your expertise in helping small businesses engage in publicity. And what is that, I guess? So you mentioned, so from someone not knowing anything about it, well, I guess let's start there. Like, what are we talking about? So you kind of referred to it, but let's go deeper and what are we talking about?
Yes. So publicity is your outward reputation. Publicity and marketing are kind of they are separate, yet they parallel each other. The publicity is it's the feels. It's how people feel when they see your brand or when they see your name on Facebook, your business name on Facebook. It's the experience that maybe your customers and clients have with you, in that I don't know how to do math, yet this bookkeeper made it seem so simple. I had a really great experience in engaging with them. That's publicity. Oftentimes we hear of publicity in the negative sense when something catastrophic has happened, whether a Facebook's gotten hacked, or someone gets on a message board and just rants about how awful someone is or the awful customer service. Then that's publicity, and that's negative publicity. And then you get thrust into a crisis situation. Okay. I'm talking about the positive stuff. I'm talking about the way that, as I said, people feel, the way you make them feel because of how you engage with them on Facebook or on Instagram or through Zoom, or face to face. That is all part of good publicity. Now, you can kick it up a notch by then spreading the word further about what you do in your local paper, on your local radio station, through local television. Not every town has television. So that's kind of the wild card there. One of the ways to do that is by putting together a press release. And that is the easiest, most tangible way to begin to garner some publicity, is putting together a press release. And Sherry's heard me say this. You would think of it almost as if like a birth announcement. Okay, we're taking like a 30,000 foot drone view of what it is that you're doing. That there are certain criteria as far as formatting a press release, but it is essentially one page, and you answer the 5 W's and the H: who, what, when, where, why, and how. It could be as simple as we are approaching tax season, and maybe, actually not maybe, a fantastic way to get featured is to put together a press release, send that to your papers, send that to your radio stations about how you help small businesses navigate income tax season. And now this, I'm kind of speaking off the top of my head here, but there have been some changes, or maybe there are some common, what you all know as common information for small business owners that we small business owners may not even have a clue. And so you could write that press release in such a way that you are offering to, hey, for tax season, there are 5 simple steps or 5 simple documents that your small business owners need to make sure they have before they file their taxes this season. And here's what they are. You could list them real quick in the press release and send that off to the paper, send it off to the local radio station. And at the end, say, for more information, contact you, put your email, put your cell phone number, so that when they get this press release and it comes across their desk and they go, that's pretty interesting. We think our listeners on the radio station, we know our listeners could benefit from this information. Let me give Sherry a call and see if she'd want to come on the radio. It's that simple. You haven't paid for anything. You're not paying for any kind of advertising. I'm not even talking about having an advertising budget. This is all free publicity. And all you did was spend maybe 30 minutes or so writing a press release and sending it to the newsroom, or sending it to the editor or the executive producer. And there are ways to go about finding out who those people are. That's all you did. It cost you a little bit of time, yet now you have an opportunity and a platform to explain what it is you do, who you serve, and if people have more questions, how they can reach out to you.
So Michelle, sometimes with bookkeeping, like, I think that one of the hesitancies, especially for bookkeepers to put themselves out there, is on the face of it, when we start talking about like, okay, debits, credits, like, let's make sure your books are reconciled, all of these boring like terms and phrases, it feels really boring. Me doing it for 10 years, I can see some excitement. I can see how we can save them money, things like that. But like, if it feels boring, like, do you feel like the need to like spice it up? Like, is it really just like, here's 5 things that like really make business owners' lives easier going into tax season? Like, how much, because I feel like a bookkeeper listening to this can be like, I don't know what I can say. You say 30 minutes, it's going to take me 8 hours, like, to craft something.
Well, call me, I'll help you.
Because we're also not very creative. Like, what's the extent where in general, like bookkeepers in general, like don't feel like they're creative. I think I'm creative, but anyway. Do we need to be creative to do this? Like, does it need to be like spicy and entertaining? How much?
It needs to be conversational.
Okay.
When you're writing. How would you explain to your best friend what it is she needs to help her have a successful tax season or to set her up in a good way? Whether it's tax season or to explain to her how important it is for the checks and balances in bookkeeping and how important it is to have things in by December 31st. You don't necessarily have to use a bunch of razzle dazzle words to get your point across, because what you're doing is you are providing information and you are providing a service to people who need that information and they need that service. And so it doesn't require a great amount of creativity. I had a radio producer tell me that when it comes specifically to tax season, he said to me, I would much rather have someone, a local CPA or someone in that realm, come on my radio show than someone from H&R Block or someone from a national group. No disrespect to H&R Block, but because that station in particular is so hyper-focused on local, he wants to hear from the local people, not the national people, about what it is that might be facing business owners in Arkansas or that might be facing business owners in Arizona. Little nuances that may not impact the only people that it impacts are the people in your state. Whereas someone from a national group may speak way high level and not drill down and go, no, this is what is important to people in your city or in your state. So it's not always about being creative. Yes, you want to be memorable. And the fact that you are someone local reaching out to local news, and I say local news and understand that encompasses radio, TV, newspaper, but to have someone local reaching out to local news is impactful in and of itself, because trust me when I say, because I've gotten the press releases myself, H&R Block, they're offering people all the time to come be on a radio show or come be on a television show or get a quote in the Daily Gazette. They're doing that. They've got a whole team that does that. But to hear from someone local, oh, okay, yeah, I'd love to hear what you have to say. I may see you at the grocery store on Thursday. Like, let's have that conversation. So it does not always have to be wildly creative, but it does have to, there's a phrase we have in television called viewer benefit, also listener benefit. But what is it? What's the knowledge that you have that a listener like me or a viewer like me could benefit and go, I had no idea. I could use my Zoom subscription as a tax write-off. Had no idea. I mean, I did, but I'm using that as an example. I had no idea that I can use a portion of my mortgage, or that I could use my cell phone bill or a portion of my internet bill, as those are considered business expenses. I didn't know that. Those are things you guys know that those of us don't know until someone says, hey, by the way, did you know you can use some of your cell phone or you could use your internet, fill in the blank, as write-offs?
Okay. So a lot of us are virtual. We're 100% virtual. Yeah. We do not want to meet with a client in person, like over our dead body. I have met with people in the past. My business, so for me personally, my business has become 100% virtual. I meet with people for networking and just for the fun of it, but I don't want to go to their office and get all of their receipts. That is no longer a part of my scope. For the bookkeepers that relate to that, like, I think one of the hesitancies, I love marketing local, so I'm no longer in Phoenix, but my base is in Phoenix. So I market locally to Phoenix from an SEO standpoint a lot of times. Um, just because I know their bookkeeping, their sales tax inside and out, but I don't want to meet with them in person. I love them as a location. I love the people. So now granted, I'm not there. So I would, from a local standpoint, I'm hearing you say I would target Albuquerque, where I'm physically located and serving too.
Well, but you could target Phoenix too.
Okay.
I mean, you really could, because again, if we're talking radio, well, you're calling in. You're
Okay.
not necessarily in the radio, in the studio there. When you're talking about newspaper, any kind of Phoenix publication,
Okay.
print publication, so much of that can be handled over email. But even then, those different reporters can do like a Zoom interview or even a phone interview to hear in your words and have your context and your inflection and all that, that gets lost in email. But yes, you could still do that even in Phoenix.
So for the person who is scared to market locally because they don't want to meet in person, like, does that really change the way that they're reaching out to these places?
No, it doesn't, because again, getting the interview, that can all be done virtually. Okay, but then the people who hear the interview and go, ooh, I want to reach out to Sherry. Okay, where can we find you? So they're gonna, the person doing the interview is going to give you the opportunity to say, here's my website, or you can follow me. Here's where you can find me on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn or whatever platform you use. And so then the consumer can then seek you out, and then it's on you to say, great, thanks for the interest, and I'd be happy to set up a 20-minute virtual call, however it is then that you do business that makes you comfortable.
Gotcha. So yeah. So just for the bookkeepers, so you're directing them to, like, in essence, your funnel. So your website, wherever you're sending people, like in your normal marketing, you are directing them to the same place. It's really just another marketing of eyes on you going to your, let's just call it funnel, like your website, your social media, wherever you're sending people. Becky asked a question: what kind of investment is involved in doing a press release? And we kind of touched on this briefly. But do you want to elaborate on that?
Sure. There's really not one. There is a certain format to putting together a press release. And that is something that I teach. And we'll be teaching next week, as a matter of fact, for free. So there's, and we can talk about it later if that is of interest, but the only investment is the investment of your time. That's it. There's not any kind of 7-figure software that you have to magically, put all the data in or anything like that. No, not at all. It is something that you are capable of creating on your own. And if that seems like it's too much of a heavy lift, then yes, people like myself, and there are others who certainly, it's a service that we offer. It's a service that I offer. So, if you felt like in some instances, it's easier to just put money towards a situation so that you don't have to deal with it. And that certainly is an option in this case, but also understand that you are perfectly capable of doing this on your own too, and sending it to the proper people. And that's all part of what I teach. And that I'll be teaching next week is, who do you send it? How do you do it? That kind of thing.
Last question before we, I want you to dive into what you're doing next week, because I think it's a good, I'll be there, type of opportunity. So, and I've already heard it, I'll be there. But I think sometimes we try something once. We're going to send a press release. If we don't hear back, well, that didn't work. Yeah. What is the fortitude we need to have to really invest in this as like an avenue of something that we're bringing into our process as marketing. What is like the numbers? What is the math? If you'll engage our math brains, like, and we know 1 + 1 does not equal 2 in marketing,
Right.
but
Well, I will say that if you try it first and it's not successful in terms of getting an interview, the first thing I will tell you is it's not about you, and it's not about the way that you put the press release together. So let's level set right there. It has everything to do with, did it even make it to the right person? Was that person on vacation? Is that person checking emails? Did they already have someone? Have they already planned ahead and your press release just happened to get in there, after their deadline or something? Also, and I've had a radio and television producer tell me this, oftentimes, not often, but it happens. They will get on a daily basis, a producer will get upwards of 100 to 200 emails a day. A lot of times they do a mass deletion. Sometimes our emails get caught up in it. And I'll tell you, I put a press release together for this workshop that I'm doing next week. And I was not wildly successful. I have a couple of opportunities, but I have missed a couple of opportunities. So it's not just, oh, well, you've been in that world. Oh, well, you know those people. Oh, well, it's easy for you. You can always get on. No, I can't. I play by the same rules everybody else plays. And I've had some no's. Oh, Michelle, we wish we could. We can't. There's also an art in following up. And I always encourage people to follow up. You might think you're bugging them. I can promise you, you are not bugging them, because if your email got caught up in that mass deletion, they never saw your first email in the first place. So follow up. I had one client who works with special needs children, and she and I got together and we came up with a little media strategy, did some press releases. And she said, Michelle, it was the third press release I sent out. A television crew from Atlanta pulled up in front of my event. And I freaked out. She freaked out, not me, but she freaked out. She said, it took me 3 times, but on that third time, someone showed up. And then there were a couple other times and no one showed up. And then another time we were in Rhode Island and someone showed up. So that's the other part about media, is not in this instance, but if you were hosting anything, any kind of an event, although I don't know that you necessarily would, but oftentimes media would not tell you that they were coming. They just show up because you sent a press release. You told me where you were going to be. Okay, here we are. In the case of radio and in newspaper too, I will add that oftentimes when you put your press release together, you do want to make sure that grammatically it's correct and there aren't any spelling errors, because oftentimes in some newspapers, they'll just print your press release in the paper. They won't ask you. They won't call you. They don't need any more information. They'll just put your release in and let it be. And I've had people tell me, when we receive press releases that are put together in a certain way and that are free from misspellings and grammatical errors, we know that's a serious person. And so they're going to get our attention, because there are plenty of other people who are sending it and there are misspellings, or they miss punctuation, or, the basic stuff that we learned in elementary and junior high, as far as English language goes. And so they don't even give those releases a second look. But people who actually put together a thoughtful, cohesive press release, they're like, okay, if they present this well on paper, they're probably going to present real good on the phone for an interview.
I've got to ask, in the online space, if someone were to go Google, how do I get a press release? they're not only going to be met with information like yours,
Yeah.
they're going to be met with those sites that like do press releases, and like you can like pay them for like a it's a press release, but it's like a bogus press release. It's like one of those blog sites or something. Like, can you speak to any of that? Why doing this is better than doing that? Or is that still a valid option?
It certainly is a valid option. Of course, you can Google and see. The difference is I was in the business for 20 years. So you're getting a certain level of expertise that Google isn't going to necessarily give you. Press releases have evolved over the years, but ever so slightly. And so the knowledge that I bring and that I present and offer is current. Okay. And it's been successful.
Okay, so another question on successful. A, what do you consider successful? 2, can you speak to how this helps? Like, if anyone's concerned with SEO and like doing things that work harder versus like that, Facebook post that lives for a day.
Yeah. Let me start with that question first. Even if you are not interested at all in getting any publicity, let's just say you don't want it. Okay. Maybe the timing's not right. Maybe it's just not for you right now. You can still write press releases and get them on a newsroom section of your website using your keywords in there. And that's going to boost your SEO. It's also going to give your business a ton of credibility when someone is Googling and your business pops up. And so they decide, all right, I'll go check out this website. Oh, they've got a newsroom tab. And they see the press releases that you've written. They don't know if you've been on Good Morning America or Good Morning Arkansas. They just see you've got a press release that immediately, instantaneously gives you credibility. So for the clients that I have that are not interested in being on television, my advice is always the same. Okay, get a press release up there. Get it on your website. That, again, is a free tool to help boost your SEO if you're getting your keywords in there. And all it's done is, it's cost you some time. That's it.
So kind of like the same effort you would write a blog. So you write it, whether or not you send it or not, do you still put it up in like press release form? Is that what you're saying? Or do you have to send it off?
You don't have to send it at all.
Gotcha.
Just put it up in press release form. I've got a couple press releases on my website, or I should. I have someone who helps oversee my website. So I don't know. I haven't put it up, but I think she has some of the press releases that I've done for clients and press releases I've done for myself too. So, because again, it is just like a blog in that it's building your credibility. It's another way to boost your SEO. As far as success goes, that really depends on the person. That really depends on you, what you gauge as success. For me, there was a particular instance where just completing the press release and going through the exercise, that was success for me. Enough. That was success. I got it done.
Yeah.
Issuing the press release, sending it out, getting any kind of response after that was the cherry on top. But just getting it done was success right there.
Absolutely. Especially with like just knowing that newsroom section. Like, I think there have been seasons in my life where that would have been, it's done, it's up. I and I can look back and say, I went through the effort and I learned something, and it could serve me well in the future, especially if you add in, we were talking about the podcast earlier. Then they're able to see like what you're about, what you're doing, and what you're up to.
And another thing I'll add, particularly when it comes to tax season, just because we're kind of on the cusp of that, some of those seasons are tried and true. And so you could write a press release now and use it again next year, just change the dates, and use it again the following year, change the date, maybe change a word or two. You don't have to. So in some respects, it could almost be a template for certain times of the year.
Can we talk about times of year? So for us, and I think this is what triggered me for knowing that, hey, I should get you on like now. So our busy season really starts, I'm going to say in August. Like we start ramping up our marketing busy season. We
Okay.
start ramping up marketing in August, going into those final tax deadlines, September 15th, October 15th. Between August and December is like the prime time to, you didn't hit your income goals going into August, like let's get them met going into December. And then you have tax season where people are looking, for last minute help, or, oh, I didn't take care of this. Can you help me? I remember one year I literally got a phone call from someone. She was a friend. She was driving to her tax person and she's like, I just spent so long doing this. Is this what you do? Yeah, this is what I do. And she immediately, I sent her the engagement letter on her way back from the tax preparer she signed.
Yeah.
Never again was she doing this. But so just in our seasonality, how does timing of press releases, when should we be paying attention to that?
So I just learned something from you
Okay.
in that your season really kind of starts in August.
Yeah.
I don't know that the general public knows that, in which case, what a great hook that you could put in a press release to start getting some publicity. That, did you know? We think of tax season and we think of it, April or at the beginning of the year.
Mhm.
Man, there's a whole other season over here. So that right there is a way that you could educate people
Oh,
in knowing your season, because I didn't realize that at all.
well,
So,
yeah, because tax strategy, people are, we come back from it's just the nature of our business. Like we come back from break and it's like, okay, game on. Just because that's how the IRS is written. So that's when we get clients, not just during January, February, but so is those times like in August, January, like is that by that time, is it too saturated at the beginning of those seasons, or is that like the perfect time?
no, I think that's the perfect time. I do think that January and February are excellent times when going after press, because that is a natural slowing of the news cycle. And so you've got television producers and radio producers and whatnot that still have a certain amount of time they have to fill and a lot less content at the beginning of the year, because we've just come out of Christmas and everything slows. The days are shorter. They're gloomy. It's raining. It's gray. No one wants to spend money. And you've got people in the media going, now what are we going to talk about? And so what a great opportunity to position yourself as the thought leader, as the experts that you all are, to come in, to slide in with a press release and go, hey, I can talk about some things you could put into practice right at the beginning of the year to set yourself up for an even better tax season next year, kind of thing.
Okay.
So I will say in August, depending on the area of the country that you are in, August and September can be, particularly in the South, that it's all football. And that's all people are talking about. We used to say, if you want something not covered, send a press release at 4:30 on a Friday afternoon during football season. It'll never be covered. Because that's just the nature of the beast. So your ability, you can still be successful, but in the fall, you may have to follow up a little more. You may have to really kind of explain why it's important that they listen now and not go, that's a January segment. Because no one's thinking about taxes, generally speaking, in the fall, but they are thinking about football, and they are thinking about, oh my gosh, now it's going to be the holidays. Now maybe a perfect segment even right now would be how to budget. how to
Mhm.
budget for your holiday spending, and how to stick to it. And then what to do if maybe you don't stick to it. That might be an option.
Actually, that's a really good point. So, because I think with bookkeepers, we think we have to only talk about bookkeeping when we're talking about marketing, like debits, credits, QuickBooks,
Yep.
versus whatever software you're using. I've had a lot of success getting away from just that and going to the kind of the periphery of business topics and what are my clients really kind of paying attention to. Here's my ideal client. What are they concerned with? And that's why we did the topic on money and anxiety and gratitude on Black Friday last year, was because that was something that was really relevant to my people. Budgeting, I've done topics on budgeting. So like that's a really good point. So if you're thinking like we only have to talk, so for the bookkeepers about bookkeeping, like you can expand that to what else do you help with? Because we can help with budgeting in QuickBooks. We can help with that planning, those business planning things, a lot of other things that we get asked all the time about. So,
and you know what, Sherry, those are even Facebook lives and Instagram lives that you could offer to do that your ideal customers might stumble upon. Yes, they are great for media, but don't neglect the power of doing that on social media too. Social media is a great tool, but so is traditional media, and they work in concert with each other a lot of times. So those are great topics, and I'd encourage you and anybody else to get some of those press releases put together quickly about how to budget for the holidays or stay in gratitude during the holidays. You guys, I mean, you could literally, if you did doing the work, you could see the results probably before the end of the year with those press releases.
Good to know. Good tips. Speaking of going into the end of the year, I wanted to ask one of the questions that was on your sheet that you sent me. No one watches local news. No one reads the paper, and all of those things. I am guilty. I am guilty. I don't anymore. Does that matter? Like, so if I personally don't, that doesn't mean other people aren't, but like, what do we do with that?
Do it. I have clients that have seen a 40% increase in their revenue in their business. It's a brick and mortar, just by being on local TV.
Gotcha.
So yes, there are people who don't watch local news. They don't read the newspaper. They don't own a television. They're listening to Sirius XM. They aren't listening to local radio. That doesn't mean everybody is doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I have several clients who would beg to differ. Well, somebody's watching because we've watched our revenue go up. So it is not to be ignored, because you're right. That might not be your choice, but there are plenty of people who are out there that is still how they get their news, or whatever.
Absolutely. Okay, so we have another question, kind of going into how do you reach out to submit one? And I think that's a really good segue to what is your workshop about? What do you do? How, like, obviously I brought you on for the information, but I also know you solve the problem. So
Yes.
how do you tell us all about that?
Okay, so I am hosting a free workshop next Wednesday, December the 6th. It's at noon Central Time. We're going to spend the lunch hour together, and I'm going to walk you through step by step on the power of a press release, how to put it together, what you need to have included in the press release, what you put in and what you leave out. And I'm also going to show you, or tell you, where to find the people that you need to send the press releases to. Oftentimes, one of the quick, easy ways is to send it to the newsroom, whether that's newspaper. It doesn't matter what media. everyone has a newsroom, and you can find that newsroom email address generally, not generally, you can find it on the station's website. And there are a couple of places where they like to hide it. Oftentimes it will either be in the About Us or Contact Us tab. Also, generally there's a Meet the Team, and sometimes they bury it on the landing page of Meet the Team. If it's not on the About Us / Contact Us page. Those tabs typically can be at the top of the website. They can also be down the side. And there's one particular group of stations. It is the very last thing, all the way at the very bottom of the website, after you scroll through a never-ending list of fake ads and you finally get to the bottom of the website. And right down there is a little button that says Contact Us. Also, and I tell people quite often, pick up the phone and call, and you can ask. There are some specific positions, such as an executive producer or a producer. You don't want to talk to them on the phone. You just want their email address. You want their name and their email address. So those are a couple, that information isn't always readily available on a website, but a newsroom address is. And generally it's newsroom@katv.com, generally. But there are those where it's newsroom11@katv.com, so there are some nuances, but generally speaking, it's newsroom at the call letters. But again, on the Contact Us page is where you can find that. But the workshop itself will teach you all of that and more, and it's free. And if anyone is interested, because we do ask that you register for it, there's a dedicated Zoom link that we're going to send out. You can register by going to my website, which is memorableresultsmedia.com. memorableresultsmedia.com. That's what my goal is, to provide you memorable results. memorableresultsmedia.com. You'll be able to click at the top there. There's a tab that says workshop, and then there's also a ticker that's running across for workshop. Workshop is free. Again, there will be a replay available, and we'll spend about, 45 minutes to an hour together. Grab your water, grab your sandwich, and grab your breakfast, depending on the time zone, and join me.
Hey, I like that invite for breakfast. I don't know how many times I'm like, I've got food beside me, but I'm like, I can't eat on the Zoom.
Yeah.
Guys, I just dropped that link into the website or to the chat and looked at it. I already registered. So if you guys want to join me there, I will be there. Just because I've seen how impactful even blogging for my business and being in front of people has been for my business over some of the other things that I have tried. I just thought this was super helpful to you guys. And that's especially if you don't want to be your face on a live. Like, it's another avenue that you might not have thought to try before, and it's free. We all like free.
Yep.
Obviously, there's always options to spend money, but we like free to start with. So there's that. We have a few more minutes. If you guys have questions, you can put them in the chat and I will read them off, or if you need to unmute. How many people are on? We've had like 20 people on. We've had about 25 people, Michelle, come and go through
Awesome.
this. So, how do you create your content?
Ooh, how do I create it for me, for memorable results? That's a great
Big question. I don't know. Catherine, if you need to unmute and elaborate, are you asking about the press release or content in general?
Yeah.
Both. So I feel like I'm a bookkeeper. I deal with numbers. I hate writing. And so it feels overwhelming to be like, okay, now I've got to write something. Like, I'm back in high school, I'm going to write a paper out, or college, whatever. So yeah, how do you hire it out? Do you do it yourself? Is it you love writing and it's you?
Yes, it is me. I am the one who writes it. For the love that you have for numbers, that's the love I have for writing. So we are yin and yang here. You love numbers, I don't. I love writing, you don't. And so generally, not generally, it is. I am old school in that if I am putting a press release together for a client, I am the one writing it. Artificial intelligence is not writing my press release. I do that. I do that for the client. When it is that the client provides me with a lot of information, I put it together and then I send it back to the client to tear it apart. I want this to sound like you. I want it representative of your business, your voice. And then once the client approves the press release, and if it's part of the package that I then send it out, then I send it out, but nothing gets sent without the client's write-off or approval on the release. So I basically take the information that you give me and put it together.
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you help with ideas? So we were just, talking budget, gratitude. Like if we came to you and we're like, I know I want to do this. I have no clue what to say. Like, what does that look like?
It's so wild that you even asked that question. Because that is a service that I'll be starting to offer in 2024 is a collaborative, specific amount of time where we sit down via Zoom and, for lack of a better word, we brainstorm. Now I'll polish that with a 2024 term, but so often, and I'm guilty of this too, we are so close to our businesses that we can't see the forest through the trees. And I've got someone that I will sit and collaborate with, and we'll bat things back and forth and come up with different ways to talk about something or this idea or that idea. So having that person that you can do that with is really helpful and really insightful. And oftentimes it's just enough of a little push to get the creative side of the brain going, oh yeah, oh yes, I can do that. And so that is something that will be offered and starting at the beginning of the new year.
Outside of that, if we're having struggles coming up with ideas, would you recommend like us going to, like what has been done before? Like, is there any validity in going to see what's been done before?
Yeah, absolutely. There definitely is. There is, maybe even think about this again, going back to the season that we're in. And is there anything that's timely that we could speak to? And I will throw this nugget in there. If there's been a lot of discussion on what may or may not happen next year in the financial sector. And so whether something positive or negative happens, with your financial knowledge, you likely can speak to what is going on in the marketplace. Hopefully that is, I'm communicating that correctly. So you may, even in your own local communities, may know about certain taxes that might be getting ready to happen in the new year that got voted in on, and people are not happy, but they have to abide by it. There might be some light that you can shed on that that is timely on certain topics.
Actually, so guys, an example, Michelle, and I know this will be my last question and then I'll let you wrap up, but there is a new like tax form, but it's not a tax form. It's like a new form that needs to be filed for business owners just across the board. that's being released in 2024. Like it's new that we're all trying to figure out what is it, who's required to do it, things like that. Like, is that once we know, here's all the details and catch ourselves up to speed. I'm a little behind. I just know I have to pay attention to it because we're all going to be required to do it. That sounds like something that is timely, relevant, new enough that like that would be a good press release.
And listen, if you don't write a press release, I'm coming after you.
I'm thinking of the Bowley link that we're all kind of sharing and discussing. If you guys have seen that link shared in the group, that's what I'm thinking of because it is new and it impacts everyone, and it impacts us. So we have to learn about it. So might as well do a press release.
Absolutely, and understand too. Anytime you have an opportunity to speak with the media, keep it very, pretend you're explaining it to a kindergartner. Okay. Keep it on a third grade level and dumb it down as much as you can, because, and I know that sometimes that can be a struggle because you operate with a certain, your own language. And so to kind of bring it down, but the more that you can bring it down and make it relatable so that the general public can understand, the more opportunities for media that will also provide you, because, oh, he or she said it in a way that we all got it. You weren't talking above our heads. And so there's a little encouragement there to just, bring it down.
Last question. How would this work in a large market? I'm a small fish competing against the big guys. Cheryl asked this.
Can Cheryl, if you can put in the chat, just where are you when you talk about large market, city?
Yeah, so I'm in Northern Virginia, but right outside of Washington, D.C.
You're outside of DC.
Yeah.
Where in Virginia?
Leesburg.
Yeah. Okay. I used to live in Charlottesville, so.
Oh, okay. Yep. A little bit further north.
Yeah. Okay. I know the general area.
Right.
So you're right. You are right out there, right outside DC. So your television is coming from DC. I'd still send it to their newsrooms. If you're interested in doing TV, I'd still send it. You will want to most definitely follow up, maybe more than once with them, but I would definitely send it there. Any local papers and any local news radio that might be in the Leesburg area, and any additional publications that might be there, different magazines, community magazines, finance magazines. Those are some of the first things off the top of my head. I will also add, public speaking may not be anyone's forte, but an opportunity to get in front of a Rotary Club or some type of service organization as a speaker, particularly with some new guidelines that are coming out, would be gold also, if that is comfortable to you. If it's not, then don't.
Good suggestions. Thank you.
Okay.
So Chelsea mentioned she was thinking the same thing being in Kansas City, and is that true in Kansas City too?
Do the same thing.
Do the same thing.
Do the same thing. We, Sherry and I both know a business owner in Kansas City who put together a press release for her business. She got 2 newspaper articles and KCTV came out and highlighted her business off of one press release.
And she was local, Chelsea. So like super local. So when I heard that, thinking of her, I was like, you're good.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
P.S. Chelsea, I'm so sorry. I don't know if I realized you were in Kansas City. I should have stopped and said hi. How dare you not remind me?
I'm even in Parkville, which is like 20 minutes from the airport. Like I have airplanes go over my house all
Same.
day.
I'm just kidding. I'm sorry to have missed you when I was there a couple weeks ago. So
This is-
we're all gonna have to get together and do a live event. It's coming, guys. It's coming. We're gonna do a live event. So, Michelle, I just want to thank you so much for your time and sharing all of this information. Like, I think you shared way more than you had to, and I really appreciate it. I think it was really helpful to everyone that was jumped on. And I really hope that it was just helpful to see like our industry and get to know us like in it, because this is definitely something that's not talked about for us. And it's free. Like that just like, oh, it's that easy. And I hear about it, it just feels hard. So I'm like, they need to meet you. So I'm so glad that you jumped on.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It was a joy to be with you guys. And excuse me, I hope that it was encouraging. And for those who have signed up, I look forward to seeing you next Wednesday. And you'll be able, if you want to think about it, signing up for the free workshop, you can sign up even as early or as late as Wednesday, just before noon, and we'll get you in. So thank you for having me.
Well, thank you. I hope to see a lot of you guys there with me. I've already seen some of you guys say that you registered. I just think, especially with that new new guideline coming out, like, now's the time. Like, let's blow up some of these businesses. I would be thrilled to see that happen. So again, thank you, Michelle. Guys, the replay will be in both groups. So wherever you guys are at, it will be uploaded to the Thursday call vault, or if you're in the co-working call, it'll be uploaded there as well. So those private things in your dashboards, you can find them there. So hopefully this is helpful. Rewatch it, go devour it, and attend the free workshop, because I think you're showing us how to do the press release too on that call.
I am. Now, if you want, I will say this, and some of you probably have already seen it. If you want it done for you, there's a template. I think it's like $17 or something that you can pay for. And Sherry, you've already got a copy of that. But yeah, it's
yeah, I do.
It's like a done for you. So
cool.
That's in there.
So guys, take advantage of the free resources. I hope this was helpful, guys. I hope it was helpful. Let me know if you want me to keep finding people like this. I totally will. We have another special guest coming on next week for marketing as well. So this is like so this is number one, if you've seen our email, of 4 Christmas gifts we are giving you. So I'm excited. So 1 down, 3 more to go, and they're almost all marketing. So it is time to blow some businesses up. Thank you, Michelle. I will chat with you offline. So thank you, guys.
Great. You guys have a great week, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.